Welcome, my friends, this is Maniacal Incorporated, and you join me for a tale of horror on this spooky, eerie May evening. This is a demo for the Séance of Blake Manor, which I have a feeling is going to have a Halloween release date. The demo was put out recently by the developers, Spooky Doorway, and it's being published by Raw Fury, who've done a couple of games that I'm interested in. They've published Dome Keeper, the Esoteric Ebb. That's the big one. That's coming out soon. So Spooky Doorway are keeping fantastic company. They were one of the big companies, or one of the big names to come out of the indie Irish video game boom a number of years ago, which kind of abated a bit. But Spooky Doorway, of course, did Dark Side Detective, a more comedic game than this one. Now what I'm going to do today is I'm going to take a look at the demo and the various aspects of Irish history which pop up in it, heavily influenced by Irish mythology and Victorian era occult. So I've actually played through it once already. We're going to start a new game and listen to the dulcet tones of Detective Declan Ward.
Mr. Ward!
I'll waste no time, as there's none for wasting. I write from Blake Manor in Connemara. Yesterday, a guest went missing, a young woman named Evelyn Dean. The owner and staff carry on as if nothing has happened. She has not left, of that I am sure. This envelope contains £200. Please, sir, accept this money and come quick, for I fear she's not long for this world. A further £300 will be paid out if you find her alive. I know the west of Ireland might well be the far side of the world for its distance from you, but there is no one else to turn to. I hear you're an honorable man, a steadfast investigator, and perhaps most importantly, godly. I pray for the girl that this is true.
So we arrive on the west of Ireland to uncover a mystery of a guest who has disappeared in Blake Manor. You'll see there in the intro, took place or started in O'Connell Street, what was then Saxville Street, in 1897. We had the GPO on the right hand side, and I think with the GPO on the right, I think Nelson's column was a bit too far down the street. I think it should have been a bit closer to the camera. Literally unplayable, 0 out of 10. Do not buy this game. Somebody complained about the train in the trailer for this video game. When the trailer was put out, they complained that the train was from the 1920s, and the devs have actually gone and they have changed to a more appropriate, time-appropriate train. Detective Ward is exhausted. Best get inside. Then I can find out if Miss Dean was here, and if she still is. I'm not here in an official capacity, so it's probably best that I don't divulge too much about my purpose. So we had a bit of voice acting at the start. This manor is miles from anywhere without a horse. There is nowhere to go. So we had a bit of voice acting at the start. The game isn't going to be fully voice acted, but I think there's talks that... Hello? Are you the voice actor? Is somebody there? Oh, it was crows. Never mind. It's always crows. Those damn crows. I think when you meet characters for the first time, that they might have a greeting. There's one of them there now. They might have a greeting that they will say but it won't be actually fully voice acted or anything like that. I can hear horses in the distance. If we could get a horse, boys oh boys, the things we could do, the places we could go. I'm going to pop down here very quickly, just to check something. No. A bronze statue of a lady. It is not that old, a few years perhaps. A dedication to Mary Blake, the Marquess's wife. Now you'll see at the top it's 10:02 p.m. Every time we interact with something, a minute is added. So it's kind of Disco Elysium-like, in that time only progresses when you interact with things. And depending on what time it is, people are going to move around the house. They're going to be in different positions in the house. Though taken from us all too soon, she will live on in our hearts and live through her kind and charitable deeds. What I wanted to check was that in the picture of Evelyn Dean, she had a very prominent necklace. I was wondering, was it associated maybe with the Marchioness in any way, make, shape or form? This is Blake Manor. Now historically, the Blake family was one of the 14 tribes of Galway, which was actually a derisive nickname that was given to them during the Cromwellian era when they were driven out of Galway city. The 14 tribes were 14 merchant families prominent in Galway city since the Norman invasion. 12 of them were actually of Anglo-Norman descent, and the Blakes were one of them. Now, by this time period, the 1890s, you can see we're running around and no time is changing. We'll look in the window at one of the cooks, shuttered from the inside. The kitchen is around here somewhere, so the time has gone up to 10:03 now. But by the time of the 1890s, they had actually moved to Doon. So, during the Cromwellian era, they were driven to the west of Galway city, into the barony of Moycullen. They went further west into the barony of Ballynahinch, where it looks like we are. And in the 1890s, keep them lads in your mind. We'll be coming back to them later on. In the 1890s, they were present in the townland of Doon, which we will also be hearing more about soon. And they were in Renville, so they'd actually purchased a house in Renville, which was converted into a hotel. Somewhat like this. The Blake family that we're going to hear about here has a slightly different story, however. Imagine if you're working in a hotel and you look out the window and there's a guy standing in the front yard just talking to himself about history. I should check with reception for any information on Miss Dean's whereabouts. So this tells us that time is of the essence. If Ward is to solve the mystery of Blake Manor, time advances when Ward interacts with objects and characters. Hold to proceed. Characters will change location, and events will occur as time passes. Some areas of the manor will only become accessible during certain times of the day. And this is actually handled in a very interesting way. We have the Blake crest on the ground. We can look out the windows, and we have jack-o'-lanterns, turnips, which would have been carved in Ireland, and it's making a bit of a comeback, and a candle or an ember put inside of them. There's a fantastic example in the Country Folklore Museum in Mayo, I think, preserved as a plaster cast, and it looks terrifying and confused and befuddled all at the same time, and I use that as an emote over on Twitch, so that's where I got that from. But some fantastic examples exist. We're into what is now the lobby of the manor, and we'll take a quick look around the place first of all before we go and summon the manager. So the clock is voice acted. There's nobody around. I could ring the reception bell or spend a moment taking in the place first. Do you know what? We'll do that. So Ward records his goals and progress in the mystery map. Press 1 to access this. You have unlocked a mystery. Click through the icon to continue. So we can investigate Each mystery contains evidence and leads. Evidence provides information for your investigation. Leads provide guidance and avenues of investigation. Clicking a connection reveals context for why two nodes are connected. So we have the hiring letter. The letter I received, hiring me onto this case. And then we have, is Miss Dean still at the Manor? I've arrived at the Manor to confirm if Miss Dean was here and, if no longer present, was the manner of her leaving cause for concern. And then the connection is, I must have been summoned here for a reason. I should ring the bell so that I can speak to the manager, and then we have our check-in. And then we'll be able to open up other aspects as time goes on. I might actually get the timetable opened up first of all. So we have more evidence, the deceased Marchioness. So we can go in behind the desk while nobody's here. Shh. And we'll start rifling through the drawers and find the timetable. Now, it can be kind of difficult sometimes, especially if items, so we'll see some drawers are located one over the other. They can be hard to access at times. We'll take out this clipboard. A list of staff's rota for the next few days. I should record their movements in my journal to be weird and creepy. So we now have access to the timetable, which will be familiar to anyone who uses Jira or anything like that, I suppose, maybe. So we have some people down the side. Caitlin Joyce, Dara Hunter, Saoirse Murphy, and Seamus Doyle. And we can see, so this is Friday, this is today, it's 10 o'clock at night, and we can see tomorrow where they are going to be located at certain times during the day. So at 5 p.m, Caitlin Joyce will be in the saloon, and we can set alarms, or we can go and find the location. Seamus Doyle is spending most of the evening in the bar. Fair play to him. That's the way to be. That's the way to be. Can we go back here? He'll be in the bar from 4 p.m. Boys, oh boys, that's going to be a busy day. Saoirse Murphy is in the kitchen basement. So they'll move from location to location as time goes on. We'll shut the drawer, not to anyone be suspicious of why it was open. A listing of all guest activities planned for this event. What event is this event? You can analyze people, documents, and certain items. Move the magnifying glass to hunt for observations. Now, if I can actually escape, first of all. Yes, because I presume we can come back to this. What is this event? Well, this is where we should start. The Grand Séance on the 31st of October, 1897. There's the man offered the American money. The Grand Séance, a gathering of intellects interested in esoteric matters, regardless of sex, colour, or creed. Join renowned mystic Carmela Mantovani as she leads us in the most advanced crossing of the veil as yet witnessed by mortal man. No wobbling tables, distant moans, or questionable planchettes here. See the spirit for yourself, and better yet, speak with it directly. What is going on here? Some attempt to talk with a ghost? That cannot be possible. I have heard of seances before, but always the spirits speak through a medium, a person or object, surely all fraudulent and spiritually dubious. What have I stumbled onto? Whatever it is, it's taking place in less than 48 hours. So we have Carmela Mantovani. The occult was a big deal for wealthy Anglo-Irish aristocrats, the remnants of the wealthy Anglo-Irish aristocracy who had far too much money and far too much time to be doing nothing with. We have a number of big figures in the occult world in Ireland at this time period, but the big two are Maud Gonne and W.B. Yeats. Yeats was a member of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. I think his ceremonial dagger and wand are on display, I think, at the National Museum. Famously, he fought Aleister Crowley in the spiritual realm, whatever it's called. The astral plane. Crowley was trying to gain access to the vault the Hermetic Order's vault in London, and Yeats fought him on the astral plane, by which I mean he threw him down a flight of stairs, and they fought on the street. Maud Gonne was a member of the Hermetic Order, but she insisted that all of the kind of the forms that they used were taken from Freemasonry, and she was not a big fan of Freemasonry. In her biography, A Servant of the Queen, she writes about how it's mostly about the occult, and she has some crazy, crazy stories about the occult. My favourite one is that she's collecting money for Irish Republican Brotherhood prisoners, and in Paris, she doesn't get much money, she gets a small amount. She goes to a casino and quadruples it, because the spirits are rigging all of the games for her. If she went and tried to make money on her own steam, for herself, the spirits would make her lose all her money. But she's using the spirits to make money for the IRB. I'll put up a link to a kind of a podcast video I made on Maud Gonne and the occult. But Mantovani, I'm wondering if that's a reference to, not really a reference, but a kind of an homage to Madame Blavatsky, who would be a Russian immigrant / occultist who was quite popular in Dublin and London in this time period. So there's a big, mad thing going on here at this stage. A séance. Famously, again, to derail this with a conversation, W.B. Yeats held a séance in Mount Vernon House in Clare, which belonged to Lady Gregory, who would have been born on an estate not far from where this game is based, and married Lord Gregory, who owned an estate not far from where this game is based, but they had a house in Clare as well, Mount Vernon, and Yeats held a séance to communicate with the ghost of Hugh Lane, who had died on board the Lusitania, to ask him where he had put a codicil amending his will, and something responded, and directed them to a drawer, which they forced open and found the codicil in. So there you go. It's not made up, Ward, it's all real. We're going to have an opportunity to make observations and analyze things. So if we hover over here, we can see the Monday welcome luncheon. I think we're into the 29th. We are. It's Friday the 29th at the moment. So we've missed... Oh, we missed the archery. Or cricket, whatever it was. Damn. So Tuesday, we have a bridge game held in the library on Tuesday evening. What else can we find? What else of interest? Masked Ball. There is a masked ball tomorrow evening at 9 p.m. in the ballroom. We have a silent dinner on Sunday at 8 p.m. in the dining room. We have the Grand Séance on Sunday. Talks held daily in the drawing room located in the West Corridor. Information on talks to be posted outside the room each morning. Talks held daily in the drawing room located in the West Corridor. Information on talks to be posted outside. So we have all of our observations. How observant. So that gives us more evidence. So if we go to 1, actually at the moment, investigate. Nothing has been added here as yet. I'm not too sure where that evidence... I think that evidence is used when questioning people. I think that's the way that works. Okay. We have dotted around the house copies of the Western Tribune. So the Connacht Tribune was and still is a real newspaper used in this in Connacht. So this is an homage. The local news, albeit in an old issue. An article has been neatly cut out. How interesting. So we can sometimes get to the drawers, sometimes they're a bit difficult to get, and sometimes they can be a bit difficult if there is stuff below. I'm almost convinced we can get to that paper. We can. I'm cheating a small bit by pressing a button that I know will be of use, so I'm finding it hard to access that newspaper, but we can communicate with it because it's glowing. And we'll see how and why it's glowing now in a moment. Do you know what? I don't care. I didn't want to read the news anyway. I don't care about the news. We have a book here which will tell the story of the jack-o'-lanterns. It's a book about those carved turnips. I was about to say curved turnips. The jack-o'-lanterns are turnips with faces carved into them. Embers are placed inside to give him a glowing effect. So it is the legend of Stingy Jack, a drunk who tricked the devil by basically convincing him to climb a tree, carving a cross onto the trunk, trapping him there until the devil promised that he would never claim Stingy Jack's soul. And when Jack died, he wasn't allowed into heaven, and the devil also stayed true to his word and refused to allow him to enter hell, so he was condemned to walk the world for all eternity, carrying before him a turnip with a piece of coal placed in it, lighting his way. Supposedly, or other spirits see the lantern, think it's the real Jack, and run for fear. He tricks them too. I hear they've taken the tradition to America, but use pumpkins instead. I can't see it being as eerie somehow. So the carving of turnips is actually making a bit of a comeback in Ireland at the moment. With big old giant elk. This must be dated 10,000 years or more, and we have some pictures of them on the wall over there as well. I'm not going to click on everything because it is consuming our valuable time. So I think we have flyers for the Séance. Well, there's nobody here. We'll take a look at some private letters. This letter is written in a swirly script that I think may be Middle Eastern. A personal letter from Lan Fenzhou. It has no reference to the manor or planned event whatsoever. Letters from a Mr. Dupree. He is half-heartedly inquiring about a business. A photo of him outside the manor is included. His expression is flat. And then we have the Blake family crest over the hotel. From this wooden shield to windows to letterheads, or it covers the hotel. Okay. We will... Ooh, that's also voice acted. We have the manager. Yes? Hello, I'm Declan Ward. I telegrammed ahead. I see. We did not receive your message, Mr. Ward. Our telegram machine is broken. Regardless, I am Vincent Varley, the manager here. We are quite full at present, but we can fit you in. I'll send word that a room should be prepared, and I'll show you to it as soon as is possible. It should be no later than midnight, certainly. But first, we'd require our guests to sign in, if you would. The book was also voice acted. Is Miss Dean still in the manor? Telegram machine broken, and suddenly some biscuits have appeared in the background. Some delicious looking biscuits. So as we prepare to sign in, we can also take a peruse of some other stuff. There's a lot of names here, all signed in within the last week, more than I thought there'd be. A record of who arrived and departed and when. I noticed Miss Dean did not sign out. Miss Dean's signature. Miss Dean signed the registration book a few days ago. Excluding myself and Miss Dean, there are 17 others currently staying in the hotel. 2 of these, Donal O'Finn and Lorcan Sinnott, signed in after Miss Dean reportedly went missing. He's not at all suspicious that it took us half an hour to sign the book. I see you're busy for somewhere so remote, though it seems quiet around here. The Séance has brought a great many visitors, it's true, though most have retired early to prepare for the festivities, it seems. Ah yes, the Séance. I noticed a Miss Dean's name signing in. Does that happen to be Evelyn Dean? It is, rather, it was. I'm afraid she's not staying with us any longer. Were you hoping to meet her? So we can say yes and claim friendship, or no, know her in passing. When I played this first of all, I clicked claim friendship. We'll say that we know her in passing. I met her at a previous gathering is all. Would have been nice to say hello again. She has left then. I'm afraid so. An urgent matter took her away a few nights ago. Can I help you with anything else? So Ward can engage in conversation with characters by discussing evidence from his records. Certain responses will reveal new information, exposing more about the characters and their mysteries. Discussing topics will consume time. Select Discuss Evidence and ask Mr. Varley about Miss Dean. Select Discuss Evidence to proceed. So we will discuss evidence, navigate to the people category and talk about Miss Dean, and hold this to proceed. So here we have evidence, and we can ask about any grand variety of things. I'm going to ask about the Grand Séance, just to start. So we will present our evidence. Vincent Varley, I accuse you of holding a secret séance. And he will say, well, no, there's flyers right here on the counter. It's not a secret. There's people visiting. There's people coming from Gdansk to see the séance. It looks like you've got some trouble with this event. This séance is the first of its kind. It seemed prudent to put some expense into the event. Or you've gone to some trouble, I should say. What makes this séance distinct from any other? Well, I simply run the hotel and would not be the best source for an in-depth explanation, but I will try my best. A typical séance allows only limited communication with a ghost. Limited in that a medium is needed, a host, a device, etc. It believed that, at the right time of year, with the right collection of people gathered, more direct communication could be achieved. So obviously with the hoi polloi of Anglo-Irish society, and at Halloween, when the veil between worlds is weakest. That's obviously the best time. And so these people have been gathered here at Samhain, the Lord of... what is it? The Celtic Lord of Death? Samhain? What movie was that again? Is that one of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies where's the Lord of Death? The Celtic Lord of Death, Samhain. Gathered here at Samhain, where and when the veil is thinnest, to see if that is true. As I say, that is the belief. Whether you believe it, Mr. Ward, is up to you. We will discuss more evidence. So we can ask about all of these various things. We will go to people, so items, we can go through everything individually, we can bring up everything. We were told go to people and speak about Evelyn Dean. I'm sorry, but did you say Miss Dean departed already? Yes, Tuesday night, perhaps Wednesday morning. Her letter said she had to leave on short notice. Letter? In truth, she took her luggage and left in the middle of the night. In the morning, we found only a letter and her payment at the front desk. Oh. I need nothing else. Thank you, Vincent. Then please wait here. The staff will prepare your room, and I'll be back to show you to it shortly. Now, if you excuse me, with the telegram machine broken, I have delivery orders to write for the morning. If you need me again, you know how to summon me. Scream? So Miss Dean was here but left. Her date of departure does not line up with the letter I received. It would be good to see the letter she left behind. By exploring and interacting with items, Ward can progress the investigation. To see what objects you can interact with, hold down space to enable detective vision. Ooh. So this is how I know that we can interact with the newspaper over there, and we can interact with those biscuits, those delicious looking biscuits. We're probably hungry if we've come all the ways from Dublin. We're probably starving. Discs. Oh, they're not biscuits. What on earth could these be for? I thought they were iced biscuits. It could be that they're important. Maybe there's a clue to their use somewhere around here. There's a note underneath them. A note about some missing keys. I'll add the note to my journal so I can examine it later. So documents are stored in the records. We can press 2 to take a look. The records contain a catalogue of all the evidence Ward has gathered during his investigation. Some evidence can be examined or analysed to gain further information. So, here's the keys note. Examine. The southeast corridor key is still missing. I've spoken with the staff about the other keys. Doyle misplaced the northeast corridor key. After a few drinks, I'd wager. Oh, Doyle. I'll chase him on that this evening. Hunter says his key for the northwest corridor, still safely locked away. Mrs. Joyce? was using her saloon key for her cleaning rota this morning. She left it on her cart in one of the closets. The southwest key is still locked in storeroom. Frustrating as that is, at least we can see it is still there. And do we have... It doesn't look like there's anything we can investigate. Is there anything else that we might want to... So there's items, there's documents. So we have this photograph of Miss Dean, and it tells us who we can speak to about it. So I think if we go to the map of the region, we can definitely discuss this with Varley. So maybe once we've discussed it with somebody, we'll be told who it's discussable with. How very interesting. It doesn't look like there's anything. This is how you be a detective. You just wave your hand over the picture to see if anything pops up. I can't imagine the map of the region is going to give us a whole lot. There's the old spelling. We've two of the islands marked off, and we're around the Clifton Renville region. So that's where we're kind of located at the moment. Renville House, like I said, the Blakes would end up owning that. And I think Doon is roughly around here. There's Galway. Having a great old time. Right, do you know what? We'll get out of here and wander off in some direction. Having looked around out here, I'm not sure Miss Dean's letter is still being kept in the reception area. Likely the manager has it in his office. So we need to gain entry to his office. We'll take a very quick look around some of the other rooms. So here in the cloakroom, there is pretty much nothing of interest, but we do have on the wall a St. Bridget's cross. I suppose odd that you'd have one still on the wall by October, but by the time that this demo has actually come out in May, I suppose you'd still have a couple of them around the place. Are one of the staff putting these up around the manor? That's a very good question, because it would be unusual, we'd say, for the Blakes to have them up there. So why the Blakes would be putting out carved turnips? Maybe they're putting those out for the guests, but most certainly a St. Bridget's cross would be an oddity for the Blakes themselves to put up. We'll take a quick look in the luggage room. Now there's a couple of things to inquisigate in all of these rooms. We can see that there isn't actually a whole heap here, standing right in this spot. We'll have to open all the luggage. It's just like Baldur's Gate 3. Open all the luggage, take all the food, send it back to camp. So I think this is the same luggage. It is. And we have something of interest over here. Let's walk in this direction. Huh? Fallen luggage? What happened here? How mysterious. I'm sure it's nothing to worry about. Now here is an example of... sometimes it can be tough to click on things. A vent, an ordinary vent, except there seems to be something stuck inside. The grate is fastened firmly to the wall. I can't get it out. So we have a mysterious object. And I forgot to point out that we have, every time the game loads down in the bottom the bottom right-hand corner, we have one of the swirly patterns that you see on one of the big stones at Newgrange. We'll see it again. There we go. Now it doesn't have the 4 lines going through it. There is a faint smell of burnt paper in the air here. Now, I'm not too sure what I want to do. I don't want to use up too much time in here. The game doesn't really have an end time, but I have seen a couple of people do playthroughs, and the time at which they are summoned to their room changes. So I have a feeling it's driven by this event here. So we're not gonna spend a huge amount of time in here, because I want to get to Varley's office. We have a typewriter. We have a typewriter with nothing written on it. On the notepad. We have a book on how the other half lives. Seems to be a book of photojournalism from the Americas. We have a newspaper. Defenders of the national education system highlight that in the 60 years since it was established, we have seen an increase in national literacy rates, resulting in an almost 86% literacy rate. However, detractors of the program point out that the rise in these figures is heavily impacted by both the death toll of the famine and resultant mass immigration, both of which affected the poorer parts of society more than the richer, more educated ones. Furthermore, census data indicates a high volume of citizens, especially women, who can read but not write, a distinction not accounted for in the previously mentioned figures of 86%. Taking these elements into account, it is fair to say that literacy rates, especially when accounting for both reading and writing, fall well below this stated figure for the average citizen and decline the further from Dublin one gets. I'm sure that will be of absolutely no relevance whatsoever to the game. Degeneration by Max Nordau. In Tartung. And a German to English translation dictionary. Well, there you go. From a quick look, the two books are the same. Maybe somebody was practicing their German or wanted to see if the two versions differed at all. Okay. So we have our telegram machine. The hotel's primary means of communication with the outside world. Apparently the battery is dead. It requires 6 volts. And here we have a voltic battery is built by stacking biscuits to reach... this is what the biscuits are for. To reach the required output. So orange, white, and blue. Up to 6 volts. So we have a little mini game to play. These burnt out discs are where the smell in the room is coming from. I'll remove them. And now we are in a position to try to replace them. So we have our instructions here on the side. And we go... There should be 1. There's 2. There's 3. 4, 5. I haven't tried actually doing this and failing to see will it like explode or anything. The battery seems to be working and the telegram machine now has a hum to it. I should tell the manager. Can I send a telegram? No. I should tell the manager. Okay. Back out to the manager. Now there's possibly another question or two. Strange occurrences? What strange occurrences? I did hear a spooky noise. Usually that strange occurrence happens at 11 o'clock when something particular happens. That does not in any way, make, shape or form involve the typewriter, which I looked at to see if there was something written on it. That's not... Ignore that. May I be of service, Mr. Ward? Discuss evidence. So we go to items, we'll go to documents, we will go to observation, we will go to Blake Manor. Built on conquered land by Edward Blake in 1655. That's a long time ago. 1655. What was happening? What was happening in the 1650s? What was happening in the 1650s? What can you tell me about the manor? Blake Manor was built in the mid-1600s on land awarded to William Blake for his part in the Cromwellian conquest of Ireland. It has since been passed down through the generations of the Blake family and has survived any number of tragedies. Marquis Jonathan Blake is the latest in the line to hold the title, with him and his son, young Master Walter, being the last two members of the line. It was the Marquises, every single time I say that word, I'm pronouncing it differently. The Marquises' initiative to open the manor as a hotel in 1870 to pull the place through the difficult post-famine years. I'm sure you all suffered terribly here as a result of the famine, the poor Blakes. That's all I could say, though I suspect there is more information in the library. Should you care for more, we'll go on a very slight bit of a tangent. 1641, the Confederate Wars break out in Ireland, which is a rebellion by the Irish against English rule, effectively. And you have, for the first stage, you have the Confederates fighting against the Royalists. Now you have a lot of Irish on the side of the Royalists, like the Baron Inchiquin, Murragh O'Brien, a descendant of Brian Boru, fighting for the English monarchy. How far the O'Brien dynasty has fallen. And then the parliamentarians become involved. And in 1649, Oliver Cromwell arrives in Ireland, arrives in Dublin at the head of the parliamentarian army. They sack Dundalk, slaughter the garrison. They sack down into Wexford and slaughter the garrison. Cromwell is only here for 9 months. But his men continue the slaughter and the carnage, and by the time the Cromwellian War, as it becomes known, ends in 1653, it's estimated that 40% of the Irish population has been killed. Now, starting in 1652, Cromwellian soldiers, about 35,000 of them, and 1,000, I think it's 1,300 adventurers, people who adventured their money, who financed Cromwell's cause. These people are awarded land in Ireland. So basically, the Confederates and the Royalists, who joined together to try and fight the parliamentarians towards the end, their land is confiscated in Munster, Leinster, and in Ulster. It is awarded to Cromwellian soldiers. Of the 35,000, only about 7,500 ever actually arrive in Ireland to live here. And the Confederates and the Royalists are basically driven into Connacht, creating the famous phrase, to hell or to Connacht. But wait a minute, if Connacht becomes effectively a reserve for the Irish rebels, then what's a Cromwellian soldier doing here, being awarded land in 1655? The reason that Connacht was chosen is because it was surrounded, many people think it's because the land here in Connacht was terrible, and that it was the worst land, and that's why it was given to the Irish, but the actual reason was that because it was completely surrounded by the sea and the River Shannon, except for a tiny bit in Sligo, which was also given to Cromwell's soldiers. So the Irish could not live within a mile of the coast. And all of that land, known as the Mile Line, was given to Cromwellian soldiers. And there's a lot of maps that you'll find that show just two colours, the land given to Cromwell soldiers and the land given to the Irish, but it's actually a much larger, much more granular distinction. And I found a map showing the Mile Line and showing the lands that were given to the different types of Cromwellian soldiers in a master's thesis. So I'll put a link to that thesis below. 360 pages for a master's thesis. Hell's bells, that was some amount of work. But it's a fantastic map that shows the Mile Line, and indeed, the Mile Line comes down around the region where this manor was built. So that is how we have the Blakes, Cromwellian soldiers in this region. Now, the Blake family in Galway, in Galway City, they lost their land in the Cromwellian confiscations. We will discuss more evidence. Poor Vincent is wondering, what the hell is going on here? Vincent, these strange occurrences. What's going on there, Vincent? I've been noticing something strange, some strange goings on in my neighbourhood. Don't concern yourself. I suspect most occurrences are just a matter of exaggerated stories among the guests. Vincent, I haven't spoken to any guests. Anything else is, well, it's an old house, and no harm has ever come of its tricks. Vincent, you're weird. The Manor's method for sending and receiving telegrams now fixed. Your telegram machine seems to be functional. Is that so? Mr. Hunter must have slipped in unnoticed and fixed it. Then you'll have to excuse me. I have messages to send ahead of tomorrow. I will be in the telegram room should you need me. You shouldn't be waiting much longer. For your room, I assure you, it will be ready by midnight at least. Bye, Vincent. I will stay here. Absolutely, I will stay here in the hallway. So character locations, maps, or points of interest, I should say, and rooms can be viewed by pressing 4. So this tells us that Vincent is in the telegram room. This is the map. The yellow arrow indicates where Ward is. You can also see where other characters are. Characters will change position every hour, so be sure to keep an eye on the map. New areas will be added as the manor is explored. So I think we have everything brought up now. So here's the timetable. This is going to get quite hefty. Because we have not alone Caitlin Joyce and the other members of staff, but we now also have Dara Hunter, Lan Fenzhao, Lloyd Dupree, Vincent Varley. So we have guests that are staying here as well. I wonder, so Sunday is the final day. No, it's not telling us where the Madame Blavatsky impersonator is staying, or where they'll be at those times. Right. Let's go. So I'm going to take a more detailed look of the room this time around. Old newspapers from the past few days. Various books on management, accountancy, and running a hotel. The entertainment schedule. The staff roster. I presume it's kind of much the same as the last time. The room rack, a listing of who is staying in which room. Miss Dean's name is not here, but there are only 4 unoccupied rooms. 2, 7, 15, and 21. One of these must have housed her. Poor old pheasant. We have some drawers. Money. The safe. I have no way of knowing the code for this. And little time. I should search the rest of the office for the letters. No, money! So we might find a TM, or a Pokeball, or something, in the bin. A letter from a supplier, requesting payment for goods delivered here for this event. An outdoor jacket. There is nothing in the pockets. How disappointing. We can interact with the hat box. So this is what I was saying about. There's one very specific place that we can stand. There we go. An empty hat box. To reach, it can be difficult sometimes to reach like the bottom drawers and stuff. A complaint letter. A letter complaining about the maid and her over familiarity and curiosity. All those Irish. Letters requesting gramophone records for the rooms, respectively for the drawing room and the bedroom of one Mr. Callahan. Now. Stack of letters, various letters from the guests making requests of the hotel for the duration of their stay. A response to Mr. Varley, who seems to have asked after a child on behalf of a young mother. The letter assures him the child is safe, but is otherwise not forthcoming. Mail to be delivered into town. Nothing here except requests for supplies. We have the room assignments, a record of who is in which room. Useful information to have. There is something underneath it. Now, let's see if we can take a look at this one first of all. I have a feeling that we'll kind of run out of time when we read that one. Mr. Varley's mid-draft orders. He is requesting payments. Hold off until after the event is over. I think this... Yes, this is Miss Dean's departure letter. On his desk? Strange. He must have been examining it when I arrived. It's signed. I wonder, does this match her signature in the sign-in book? No. Are there any differences between these signatures? So we have a bit of a swirly swirl. We have a bit of a gone straight, flat bit there. And the D. These signatures are close, but they do not match. Somebody else wrote this letter of hers, but who and why? Didn't we read a lengthy description of literacy rates in the paper? So we have some evidence. And we can make a hypothesis. To open the hypothesis panel, complete a hypothesis by filling in the missing words using keywords gleaned from evidence. Press consider to determine if you are correct. Time is lost on incorrect hypotheses. Can I leave? No. So I think we have to do this hypothesis, which means that... I think time will continue after we have done this. So we investigate. We have this big whole heap of madness. Fake handwriting. The letter Miss Dean supposedly wrote is faked, but who wrote it? So we have connections, we have Miss Dean's signature, so there's the guest sign-in. The telegram machine, there's Mr. Varley. Telegram machine is broken. Discs, telegram machine is fixed. We've explored the manager's office. And so now we have this think section. So is Miss Dean still in the manor? Think. I found a forged letter that covered up Miss Dean's departure, but who wrote it? What if... I think I see what happened here. So Miss Dean didn't leave the hotel, and somebody wants us to think she did. But who? Can I learn anything about the culprit? So they speak English. They can write. They knew Miss Dean. We don't know that for a fact. They did not know Miss Dean. We also don't know that for a fact. We know that they can write. Of course, educating the people over here isn't exactly the Crown's highest priority. As a result, literacy rates are low enough in the west of Ireland. The fact that this letter was written at all is a useful clue to the identity of the culprit behind whatever has befallen Miss Dean. Mystery solved. There we go. We can leave. Game over. That's it. That's the entirety of it. She did not leave the manor, though somebody wants people to think she did. Completing the hypothesis is critical to advancing the mysteries and finding Miss Dean, as each successful hypothesis will reveal facts about the culprit. Information you know about the culprit will appear on the panel to the left. Use it as the story unfolds to eliminate suspects on the screen. For now, it's time to get some rest. The culprit forged a letter in Miss Dean's name, so they can write. So here is the manor. I think I missed this panel before. I was trying to figure out how you actually get back in here. So all we have at the moment is the staff. We have working class, lower middle class, upper class, and the upper class, the higher ups. Now, if we quit, and this is a bit of a pity, Mr. Varley, says Mr. Ward, your room is ready. Who is behind Miss Dean's disappearance? Now, He's in the hallway. He's going to notice us leave his office. We can't climb out the... we can't climb out here. But he doesn't seem to be too bothered. Mr. Ward, shall we go to your room, sir? Mr. Doyle has gone on ahead. Now, I don't know. No, is the answer. We cannot go back to the telegram room. If you're in the telegram room, when it strikes 11 o'clock, so I presume we can't go back. No. If you're in the telegram room when the clock strikes 11 o'clock, you hear a tappa, 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 tappa. And some words appear on the typewriter, on the paper. My Irish, unfortunately, isn't the best. I think it's Unesha un Valachamach, which would roughly translate as, is this the way out? At least I think that's what it would translate as. So that was the strange occurrence that I got. But that's only by being in the room at 11. Or if you enter the room after 11 o'clock, that pops up, or somebody will have written that at some stage. So we can't go anywhere. We're basically stuck in this small area. Oh, the devil. Edward Blake, the first Marquess of Doon. So, Doon was a townland in which the Blake family were present in the 1800s. That's a townland just kind of to the east of where the game here is set. Edward Blake, the man who built this manor, according to the plaque. The devil. Cromwellian soldier. His big old Cromwellian outfit. Do you know the way you have artists who don't like drawing hands? Well, here we have some artists who don't like drawing eyes. Oh, Jesus. Jonathan Blake, the owner of the estate, painted here with his young son Walter and late wife Mary. So we have a mystery. Jonathan Blake. We got some skulls with crows on them. We have a painting of Blake Manor, a recent drawing of the manor house. I will rush over in this direction for a moment. The plaque tells me this is Walter Blake. Which one? The one on the left? So this is Walter Blake. Walter Blake and small child. And we have all these rooms that we cannot access because somebody is being mean to us. And here is something that I said to keep an eye on at the very start. We've a painting here. We had two images over the door. Not two images, two kind of carvings. And when I saw them, first of all, they reminded me of the river masks that were made by, I think it's Edward Smith. Representations of the rivers in Ireland, and a couple of them ended up on the back of the old Lady Lavery notes. That's the first thing I thought it was, but it looks like the Green Man. A figure from Celtic mythology, would we say it that way? Most famously represented as the Green Knight in... Is that in some of the Arthurian legends? There was a movie about the Green Knight there a year or two back, which was quite good. But the Green Knight is based on a story from Irish mythology. Cuchulainn and Laura Buach and Conal Cernach are arguing over which of the three of them is the greatest of the champions of Ulster and is entitled to the hero's portion at the feast. And so they're sent to Allel and Maeve in Connacht to sort it out, and they say it's Cuchulainn. The other two refuse to accept. So they're sent down to Curia Macdara in Kerry. And he again says it is Cuchulainn who is the best. The other two refuse to accept. So he sends them away back to Ulster. And a couple of days later, somebody a big green man appears in the court when Conal Cernach is there, and he challenges him to the beheading game. So he will allow Conal Cernach to take a swipe at him to cut his head off, on the condition that he gets to do the same thing the next day. And Conal Cernach accepts, laughing at the stupidity of the man, because his head's going to be cut off. He's not going to be coming back the next day. So Conal Cernach strikes his head off, and the man picks up his head, puts it under his arm, and says, "I'll see you tomorrow." And he's back the next day, no Conal Cernach. Conal has done a runner. So the same thing happens with Laura Boch, and then again, a couple of days later, the same with Cuchulainn. And when the green man returns, the day after Cuchulainn struck his head off, Cuchulainn is there waiting for him. And Cuchulainn kneels and presents his neck, and the green man kind of makes a hames of the whole thing. He misses, and Cuchulainn gets angry at him and says, "I gave you a quick and painless death, ? The least you can do is the same to me instead of toying with me like this. And you'll be so surprised, you'll be shocked. It was Cúri Mac Dara." He reveals himself to be Cúri Mac Dara, a sorcerer, and he says, "There you go," presents to the court, "Cuchulainn is your champion. He was the only person who kept his word. He's the only person who came back the next day, and he was prepared to meet his death with bravery and gallantry. He is your champion." And he had proven in front of the entire court that the other two were not worthy of the title, and there was no argument that the other two could make, having ran away. Why the people in the court who'd witnessed this over 3 days weren't like, "Cuchulainn, this dude has showed up twice before and has had his head cut off, and he just picks it up again. He's a bit weird. I wouldn't be... Something weird's going on here." But apparently not. They just let him do it. So the Green Man, very famous and important figure in Irish mythology and in Welsh mythology, and is associated with another couple of figures. Cernunnos, one of the Celtic gods of something. Speaking of big, creepy green men, it's Mr. Varley. So we have a mystery about Mr. Varley. Blake Manor, built on conquered land by Edward Blake in 1655. An historic manor recently turned into a hotel. The hotel manager, despite his unwelcoming demeanour. So we have a verified true connection, which is to investigate his office. So we've a heap of stuff there. So that's the mystery. We now have... Oh, the crow wasn't Walter Blake, it was the child. Son and heir to the lands, title and fortune after losing his mother so young. How does he feel about a séance on the grounds? I do not think the boy is even 10 years old yet. Let us investigate this small child. I should find out what I can about Master Walter Blake. Back to... So we can analyze. So like we can analyze documents, we can also analyze people. And we find that he has a crack in glasses. They must be difficult to see through. The damage must be recent, or surely he'd have had them fixed. Unhappy expression. He looks profoundly displeased. Is it with me, or something else? He keeps checking his pocket watch. He's either pressed for time, ruled by routine, or both. So I'm wondering, surely he can't see through this eye. Could he have lost it? Could it be a false eye? Maybe there's nothing there at all. Ruled by routine. Is this suggesting a military figure, a military bearing? Well. So we have some evidence, and we can actually talk to him. If you head upstairs, the porter will show you to your room. Are we able to... No, he doesn't want to talk to us. But had we carried out that investigation earlier, we would have been able to ask him some questions on his glasses and things like that. Very briefly. 1840s, Great Hunger. You have a lot of estates, like this one. 25% of land changed hands in the 1850s, as estates which had mortgaged themselves, so landlords would have mortgaged their estates, especially the absentee landlords, the descendants of Cromwellian soldiers who didn't bother moving to Ireland. They would have mortgaged their estates, and 25% of these estates changed hands. Basically, they were so heavily mortgaged, and they had lost so much money during the Great Hunger, that the British government created the Encumbered Estates Court, which allowed them to basically hand their estates over to the government, have their debts discharged, and then the government would sell on their land. So here, the estate here has opened itself up as a hotel to try and stave off that from occurring. A portrait of a woman with dark hair. She is holding an ornate vase that looks to be Egyptian. Curious. The plaque reads, Lady Wilhelmina Blake. There we are now, into 11 o'clock. Downstairs, somebody is typing Irish on a typewriter. We get to the head of the stairs. This room's yours, sir. Number 4. Now, unfortunately, I presume we can't go over here, sir. Room 4. Did he say 17? No, he didn't say 17. We do have the option to listen. I can't hear anything. It doesn't seem like anyone's inside. So I think 17 was one of the rooms that that we were told Miss Dean might have stayed in. It sounds like there's someone on the other side. Sounds like there's someone on the other side. And then that's to go to a different section of rooms. We have some armor. We have some paintings. We'll analyze first of all. So we have 3 observations. Sunken red eyes. His eyes are red, as if something is irritating them, like the alcohol coursing through his veins. An unusual Celtic cross. A Celtic cross, though it seems somehow different to many that I've seen. And shaky hands. He seems to be suffering from some kind of tremor, because we're keeping him away from the bar. It's 11 o'clock, and he doesn't have a drink. I don't think we can talk to him. Well, this is your room, sir. Breakfast is served at 9 a.m. That's an unreasonable hour. In the West Wing dining hall. A nice chance to meet your fellow, guests, that. Anyway, sleep well and all that. Well, there we go. And we have a mystery about Doyle, so we have nothing connecting us to his unusual Celtic cross, his sunken red eyes, or his shaky hands. Okay, Doyle. Good night to you. So number 4. Is my luggage making noise? My luggage. I won't unpack, in case I find myself needing a hasty retreat. I think it just dropped out of the sky. And we are, for all intents and purposes, finished. I don't think there's a huge amount left. We have some antlers. Oh, we've a big boy. A stag in a wintry landscape. You'll end up on the back of the pound coin someday. No, on the front of the pound coin. This painting occurs in a number of places throughout the house. A small house by a mountain. I wonder if this location is nearby. So this is one of the only kind of landscape paintings that you can interact with. More luxurious than I'm used to. A nice comfy bed. We have a gramophone. So we remember downstairs that somebody was requesting records. And we're arguing that it's unusual that there are no records. Again, it can be a bit difficult to get the very bottom drawers. I don't think there's anything actually in them. And again, we can use our detective vision to see what we can and can't interact with. So I did say that that was one of the few landscape paintings we can interact with. Here's another one. There's not much else to paint around here, I suppose. We can take a look out the window. All I can see is darkness, blurred by the rain on my window. Yeah, that's about right. And I don't know if there is one other thing. We leave all of the drawers open. A book. A guide to local flora and fauna, though the locale in question seems to be in the north of England. And I think that is the grand total of what we can get to. So a tiny bit of work to be done there. Oh, there we go. There we go. A tiny bit of work to be done on, what would you say, the hitboxes for some of the drawers and things. Let's go to bed and have a nice, relaxing dream. Freshly dressed with good quality sheets, I should rest. So we can't leave the room. Not a whole heap we can do. Fairly in-depth and fairly involved for a demo. Oh no. Oh no. Do you want me to go this way? Okay. Okay, oh no. Blood. So we have this. Guys, no, stop it. They're going to have to clean these tomorrow morning. The Doyle, with his shaky hands, he's going to have to try and clean the windows. Guys, stop. Oh, Jesus, they're wrecking the place. So we've seen a couple of tree-shaped items. So the Triskelion popped up there at the start, the kind of the three swirlies put together. We have a nice little Celtic knot around the outside. And I think what we do is click. Do we need to drag? We do. So click and drag. So 3 would be a number that features quite a lot in Celtic mythology. Irish mythology. We turn around. Nobody there. Didn't know why I thought there would be. Don't know why I thought there would be. Ah! So a big scary man with antler ears and antler head on him. Yeats was obsessed with the number 3 because of its importance in Irish mythology. So we're going to see a lot of 3-shaped items showing up. I think most of the Celtic knots were actually introduced by the Vikings. So what we need to do is... Oh no, we need to go over the whole thing, don't we? I don't think we can... We can cross over points, but we can't go back over the same line twice. Yep, there you go. Big old standing stone type of thing Crew Cullen might strap himself to. So we end up coming in at an angle. No, that's not what I wanted. Stop it. I think this is the best way, so we can go up and around. And there we go. This is going to open the stone. So Ward finds himself before a glowing loading symbol. His eyes opened, unlike the dark eyes of the Blakes. And there we go. A Twitch emote pops up. at the end of the demo and at the end of day one. So there's quite a lot of content for, what was that, only the final 2 hours of the day? I think we arrived at, was it 10? So there was only about an hour and a half of in-game time, we'll say. So I can't imagine what a full day is going to be like. I think it's 2, so the Friday evening, the Saturday and the Sunday, to solve the mystery. Lots and lots of references to Irish history, to Irish mythology, and to, I'm sure we'll be seeing some fascinating references to the crazy and creepy people involved in the world of the Victorian occult. Like I said, I put up that video on Maud Gonne. There's crazy stories in there about Maud Gonne trying to resurrect her dead son, basically to try and transfer his soul into the body of another child, which didn't go very well. Yeats, of course, in the order of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, and his battles with Crowley, and there was a number of other influential members of the Anglo-Irish Protestant ascendancy. Lady Gregory, like I said, who was around this region in the west of Ireland, so it wasn't all just in Dublin and crazy Irish people hanging around in London. There was lots of figures, lots of important figures from this time period, artistic and political, who were obsessed with and interested with the occult. So there you go. It's always great to see games coming out from Irish studios. Like I said, there was a kind of a big surge in indie Irish studios there a couple of years back, and that kind of abated a bit. So it's fantastic. It's fantastic to see Spooky Doorway back with a new game, and especially to have Raw Fury publishing it. So they've done a great job in publishing and getting attention to many of the other games that they have under their care. So I'm really excited to see how well this is going to do. Like I said, most likely we're looking at a Halloween release. If you haven't done so already, do go and check out the demo. Check it out for yourself. I like the mechanics. I like the systems that are available. I like the records and the timetable, the way that you're going to be able to more easily check all of the information at hand. Speaking of occult-like games, I finished my second playthrough of Book of Hours recently, and that's my one problem with that, is that it's very difficult to find where information is laid out. And there's again, just like this, there is a need to keep track of a lot of stuff, most of which I was doing with pen and paper, because that was the easiest way. I've seen people maintaining Excel spreadsheets, and I'm not against the idea of leaving the game to keep track of stuff, but if the game can give you systems to keep track of the stuff that the game wants you to keep track of, that's the optimal approach. And I'm really impressed with the systems that exist here for keeping track of the people, the records, the mysteries, and all of the other stuff. I'm not too sure if there's going to be multiple endings or anything like that, depending on who you talk to and when you talk to them, or if you're going to be given different ways of solving the end story. But I am excited to keep an eye out and to see what it's going to be like. I'm going to be picking this up at launch, and I'm going to be following the all the stuff at the bottom, the ways for keeping up with the game, and I'll be excited to see how it continues in development. There we go. We'd Maud Gonne, we'd Oliver Cromwell, we'd W.B. Yeats, we'd a bit of the famine, we'd Cúirí Mac Dara, a wide plethora of figures. Thank you all very much for joining me on this episode, and I will talk to you again in future when there is need for a séance and need for people to take part in spooky occult activity.